College life can be challenging, especially for Black students facing unique struggles and pressures, but you don't have to face it alone. Introducing Reju, the mental health app created by Black innovators for people of all walks of life. Reju understands your pain and mental health struggles because it's designed by people who truly get it. With Reju, you have access to culturally competent therapists, stress reduction techniques, and a supportive community all at your fingertips. Get ready to join a community that understands you, supports you, and helps you thrive.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Dante Wade. I'm your contributing host for Psych Hip Hop and COO and co founder of Reju, which is a mental health and wellness technology company that inspires mental, physical, and emotional success. Download Reju at the iOS mobile application store today. Today, I have a very, very special guest for us, Lish2x, a brand inspiring other artists to walk their own path, to remain unique, and to really shine in their own likeness. I'm really excited for you guys to see this interview. You won't meet a whole lot of artists out there like her, so I hope you take the gems and the nuggets and enjoy this episode. What's going on? What's going on, everybody? My name is Dante Wade. I am your host and guest contributor of Psych and Hip Hop. And today I'm joined by the lovely artist, mogul, brand trendsetter, Lish2x. Lish, how you doing today?
Two times. I got. I'm doing great. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Perfect. So on Psych and Hip Hop, the essential role of this conversation is to really merge the two lanes that I'm passionate about. One is the hip hop space. I grew up in it, up in northern New Jersey, super hip hop area, very close to New York, and mental health. I'm the co-founder of a mental health and wellness technology company called Reju, and we have different features and resources for folks who are trying to get their minds right. So just to dive deep into it, you are very unique and you're a trendsetter in this space, not only for how you present yourself, but the content of your music as well. So I just want to start off asking you a bit about your upbringing. Where are you from? Like, how did that go for you?
Well, I was born in Maryland, but my stomping ground is New York. Pre-K, kindergarten, first grade. Like I was in New York City for those times,
Hmm.
and you know, uh, I lived in Maryland and New York back and forth my entire life. Like I graduated from high school in Maryland. So I attribute that to like my articulate, way of communicating at times. And when I sound like a little bit, rough around the edges, I attribute that to my inner New Yorker. So,
Uh-huh.
I got the best of both worlds, big city and, big suburban vibes as well. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a unique experience, and I could see that could make you a very well-rounded individual. So, what aspects of growing up in New York and the time you spent in Maryland would you say contribute to who you are as an artist and overall a person today?
So, unlike most people, my environment, I don't really feel like is a big influence on the kind of music that I make.
Hmm.
The music that I make is very much so based on my now, like how when I go into the booth, how I feel at the present moment.
Hmm.
My experiences sometimes may pop out in my music, but I'm a storyteller, so I can
Hmm.
watch a movie and want to write a song. Based on maybe a character in that movie from their perspective, or I'm a huge Bridgerton fan on Netflix, so I may want to singing about love because there's a lot of love stories on that sitcom. So
Hmm.
I'm more about the now than the then.
Hmm. Hmm. And it's interesting because you mentioned that you draw inspiration from different places, not just your environment. Because I know a lot of rappers, a lot of artists overall, their environment, in a way, so to speak, defines their sound. So for you to say that you don't do that, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's be real. Our environment does influence it. Like, the lingo, the slang that I use is probably a product of the environment that I came up in. But
Hmm.
outside of the lingo and the slang, like, the storytelling, it helps me be diverse and it helps me be a lot more universal because of the fact that, I do pull inspiration from a lot of different places.
hmm hmm And something I noticed as well as I was going through a little bit of your catalog is that, your faith is very much intertwined with your music as well. From, Covered Girl to Ramadan Reloaded, and I see it's very much intertwined. Was that something that you were intentional about from the beginning, or did you grow into that?
I grew into that because I used to get mad when people would call me the Muslim rapper. And then as I, you know, matured, I realized, you know what? If people want to call me the Muslim rapper, let me do the Mariah Carey thing. Every Christmas, people look forward to Mariah Carey releasing a Christmas album or
Hmm
singing songs from her Christmas albums of the past. So
hmm
I said, like, let me be the first artist that I know of because I Googled it, I researched it, and I found only a compilation album. So I was like, let me go down and make the very first Ramadan album. And then I wanted to go down and make the second one. So, and that right there has got me a lot more notoriety, a lot more press on the blogs and, in a lot of different spaces, just so that I can now have a space where I can speak spirituality and I can speak to certain topics without feeling like I'm lecturing or, I'm trying to force this super woke perspective, but I just, reattach the spiritual in the forefront of the membranes and just say, let me share a bit of my faith, but I like it to be very universal. So
hmm
I'm all about like whether you're Christian or Jewish, for the most part, you're gonna agree with what is being said in the Ramadan album if you are really through and through familiar with your book and what it says and the lessons that it's teaching. So yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. And on one of your singles, forgive me, I don't want to misquote your bars, but
don't do
I
that. Don't do
no, I'm
that.
not going to do it at all. I'm not going to do it at all. But I hear the common theme of realness and being real in your music. And something if I said it once, I'll probably say it 1,000 times. Something I live by is that the real is always going to prevail. And I believe with you presenting your albums and intertwining it with your faith and your spirituality, the reception you got is because you were being as real as possible. Now, when it comes to being real and being authentic, is that something you always were, or is that something you kind of grew into, like with life and experiences?
I feel like I had to definitely grow into it because, you know, being real is to also be very vulnerable.
Hmm
And it's not comfortable being vulnerable because now you're subjecting yourself to criticism and ridicule from those who you represent and from those whom, think, about like think they know how you are supposed to represent. So it's definitely something I grew into and I'm still growing into.
hmm
Yeah.
No, 100%. And it takes a lot of strength to be able to do that. You mentioned in your response that you get critiques from not only those you represent, but people on the outside as well. And sometimes it stings always a little bit more when it's coming from home. So, how have you dealt with some of the critiques you may have gotten from people in your own community?
Um Sometimes I just use it as content. I really, honestly, I'm no longer like in a space where I care that much because first they criticize, then they copy. Next.
100%. 100%. And you're a trailblazer with not only the representation that you put forward, but with the music that you have as well. And there's no path. The key to being a trailblazer is there's no path in front of you. You're not sure what it looks like. So naturally, that first person is going to take a lot of the criticism, the brunts of everything that you're experiencing.
Hmm. That is true.
So, what would you say would be your advice or thoughts if there was a young Muslim woman who said, I want to get in hip hop as well, but I want to remain authentic and remain myself?
Um, I don't really feel like you can just be like, oh, I want to get in hip hop, oh, I want to rap. I feel like it's just something you have to just do. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like something like you wake up one day and like I want to do it. How do I get started? It's something that you just do and you evolve and you develop your sound. So I
Mm-hmm.
would just tell someone to just focus on developing their sound and deciding. Like I don't really like telling people decide what your message is going to be because when you listen to like those who are always in the conversation of the greats like Tupac and Eminem, their message was not always the same. and I no longer allow people to put me in the box of keeping my message the same. You know,
Hmm.
and the rooms that I go into are not always the same. Sometimes I'm in a room full of hijabs, and some days I'm in a room full of butt cheeks. Like, it's just a part of the game.
Yeah, it's duality.
Duality. Get you a girl that can do both. You heard?
Nah, 100%. What? And I'm just listening to your accent. What borough are you from?
I'm from New York, New York. The city so nice they has to name it twice.
All right, I got you. I got you.
El
I just had.
Barrio, Manhattan, ya tú sabes.
Okay, all right. I was just a path train ride away, so I'm like, all right. I keep hearing the slang. I gotta ask the borough. I can't escape without that one.
Okay.
Nah, absolutely. So, in regards to your choice to get into music, because you mentioned, you never tell somebody just to dive into music.
No.
Was music always option A for you? And if not, how did you discover that this is the lane you wanted to be in?
I was modeling first. So being a model, growing up watching America's Next Top Model, you want to be on top? I wanted to be on top. Okay. But I was always too skinny for like the black markets, the urban markets, too slim rather. Okay. And in the white markets, I fit in a lot better, but you always were like one of two black girls, or you know what I'm saying, like you were always such a huge minority, and sometimes that gets old. And then, let's be real, like I'm not 5'9", so I don't really fit into certain categories. But then, like, being around, like, I was in a lot of music videos. Like, I would be around G Unit a lot. Like, I'd be around. I have a song. My very first single that I ever put out was Fast Money featuring KK. Like, I used to be around 50 when KK was signed to G Unit and touring with them. I used to be around their video shoots. I was booked for like Jim Jones videos. So when I was doing like video shoots and things like that, just this young girl with like milk on her breath still, um, I knew I wanted to be the artist, and that it was a time when I was like, okay, I'm totally just um doing this for um the connections at this point.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
No, that makes complete sense. And you mentioned you were on the video shoots, you were doing it for the connections, and you got to a point where you said you wanted to actually be the artist. Now, let me ask you this, because when we have the idea, it gets really exciting. But going from idea to actual implementation, sometimes it gets difficult. So I guess my question for you would be, in those times of difficulty, in those times where the dream seemed like it was running from you as opposed to running towards you, how'd you stay grounded to keep pushing?
I'm still like choosing to keep pushing at the end of the day. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Like, the dream's not achieved yet. Just because I hit a milestone or a check a box doesn't mean that the dream has been achieved. To some people, they just want to make it on a certain show. They just want to make it on a certain red carpet. But making it to the red carpet isn't the dream. It's being on that red carpet with a certain notoriety and a certain bank account and a certain level of influence. That's the dream. So for me, I just every day I wake up and I obsess over what is it that I can do to put me a step closer.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
And it's falling in love with the journey too.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, and you don't got to go too deep into it if you don't want to, but what is the dream for you?
The dream, I would say, the dream is definitely to be on top, on top of my game. And, what on top looks like always changes for me
Hmm.
because, I do so many different things. Like, and I think that, when you look at artists like Jennifer Hudson and Kiki Palmer, these are multifaceted artists and creators. Like, Kiki Palmer is somebody that I look up to a lot, someone who, dominates in the acting space, but she's also a singer, a performer. She also has her podcast and she does a lot of dope things. And then someone like Jennifer Hudson, who is also a renowned singer, actress,
Hmm.
and now she has her own talk show. Like, these are all things that I do, you know what I mean? So like, I look at a lot of different women that are killing it in different avenues other than where they started. And I just know that if one doesn't take off, the other will. And honestly, the way I feel, I'm not letting up on either side. Yeah.
100%, 100%. And I think what you mentioned is so important, and it's good for not only younger artists but younger people to hear is that it's about becoming a brand and being
Yeah,
multifaceted, and somebody
yeah,
can't just look at you and say, "Oh, she's just a hip hop artist," because you're so much more, and there are more titles
exactly.
and more things that
Yeah,
come with it.
for sure.
No, absolutely. So when you think of your brand, what do you want to come to people's minds when they hear Lish two times?
When they hear Lish2x, I just want people to smile. Like I want them to think of something positive. Rather it's pretty clothes, rather it's, an inspirational song to put them in a good mood, a love song, a song to make them dance or want to go shopping, or a song for vacation, or maybe they just want to listen to somebody, tell a story, and maybe there's something in that story for them. I want them to think like, oh, Lish2x, oh, smile,
A name
smile,
synonymous with
time.
smile.
Yeah.
Smile two times. I like that one. Well, you should trademark that one. Smile two times as well as Lish two times.
Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna hit you with a couple of more questions. Then I'm gonna get you up out of here. And
Okay.
this question actually goes back to something you mentioned earlier. When you
Mhm.
mentioned the greats, you said Pac and you said Eminem. So I'm gonna ask you who your top five is. No order, but just top five off the top of your dome.
So I'm a fan of saying top five alive. I
Okay.
think that it's unfair to always have this conversation of all times, dead or alive. I don't like that conversation. So
Hmm.
for me, my top five alive is gonna be it's very hard and it changes all the time, but it's probably gonna be like Kanye West, Eminem, um, Little Kim.
That's three.
It's hard.
It's
It's
only two
really
more.
hard. It changes all the time though. It's like so I hate like that can be quoted saying like my top five. I don't know. It just changes.
All right.
I'm not gonna
So
It
we'll put in
changes.
parentheses. We'll put in
So and
parentheses.
then
We'll
you
put
didn't
an
say
asterisk.
like whether they're singers or rappers or whatever. So like I would throw Chris Brown in this because he's
Okay.
also great, and Beyonce. Like let's be real.
Okay. All right. And we could do that because I know you kind of bend genres with your music as well. It's not just hip hop, there's some soul aspects to it too. So okay, we could do that.
Yeah.
All right. The next one is if you were to have three albums that you could only listen to, these are your only three in rotation for the
Uh-huh.
rest of your life, what would it be?
Kanye West Dropout, The College Dropout,
Okay.
John Legend Get Lifted. Oh wait, no, no, no. I gotta take that out. That was definitely a top 10 for me for one point, but no. Kanye West College Dropout. Um, I feel like even though it's her only album, Cardi's album is a classic. Something
Okay.
that I'll probably listen to forever and a day.
True New York. Okay.
Yeah, it was very New York. So Cardi's album for sure. Um, I feel like Little Wayne the Carter 2 was like an it was a big era for me. I think that was around 2005 too. Um um
I think that was three right there, unless you want to throw another one in the mix.
Oh, you told me three? Sheesh.
Hmm.
I don't know why I keep thinking five. I gotta
If you
throw
want to
another
say
one in the
five,
mix. I gotta throw in TLC Crazy Sexy Cool.
okay, another classic.
Yeah, or it's like a toss up between Crazy Sexy Cool or Fair Mail. I actually Fair Mail was a really good project. I just don't, with I feel like Left Eye's death outshadowed the project.
Mm. See, Crazy Sexy Cool is that's what really got them
That was my
to
whole
legendary
childhood.
status. I would
Yeah,
say that.
Crazy Sexy Cool was a big, very big, influential album in my life. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, all right, one more for you.
hmm
If you had a dream feature that you would want to do, because we're gonna put it in the atmosphere, who would you want the dream feature to be for?
Probably Kanye West for sure. I'm a huge. You know what's
Mm,
so funny? I don't really know no more because I was a big Kanye West fan, but he turned me off big talking about Beyonce and Jay Z's kids. Like, I So it's like if we pretend like that didn't happen, it'll be Kanye West hands down.
Yeah. I mean,
I love
if you
I love
pretend a lot of stuff,
Yeah, but if that did happen, I don't know about a dream feature, but somebody that I definitely would want to work with would be Missy Elliott. Like, as far as a
mm,
feature, it's like, a feature could look like a lot of different things, but people like Missy Elliott, Pharrell, like they have a lot of those unique sounds that I kind of like embody, and you'll hear a lot of that in like a lot of my unreleased new music, and like that
mhm.
you can look forward to like this fall for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's crazy. You actually jumped to the last thing I was going to tell you. So, as we come to a close for the actual interview, one, I want to thank you again for joining me, but I want you to take some time to let the folks know what's coming next, where could they follow you, where could they find you, and, how could they support the movement?
Well, first and foremost, Lish2x featuring Steph G, Bag remix out now everywhere. Stream that on repeat when you sleep. Don't play with me, stay with me. Um, subscribe to my YouTube, Lish2x, Lish2x.com. There's merch there. There's my blogs, inspirational articles, events that I go to when I feel like it. I do recaps. Um, you know, yeah, and then of course follow me on Spotify, Apple, all that. And in the fall, just know that I have a lot of music coming. I can't tell you the order. Just know that it's coming and it's gonna be beautiful and it's gonna be different than everything else.
Wow, 100%. Well, I want to thank you so much, Lish two times. Great artist, a trendsetter. Keep being great. Keep doing exactly what you're doing. There's a lot of people following you, and I am too. So thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
again.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
Absolutely.
you.
At the Natanya Experience, we believe we can all rise above challenges, heal, and shine together. And so we give big thanks to our amazing partners who share our vision of universal health and happiness.